Welcome to Heroic Stats, episode 31, an Any Heroics podcast. My name is Stephen. I'm, of course, your host and captain of Any Heroics, the only GBHL team where we select our captain based on how much they like Simon Pegg movies. I am joined, as almost always, by Mr. Dave Farmer.
Hello.
And this time, by the lovely, the wonderful, the gregarious, the handsome Liam Smith.
Hello. The light is always beaming off my head.
Well, it matches your beaming smile then, doesn't it, Liam?
Whoa.
Paid a lot for that smile.
Went to Turkey, did you?
All the turkey. Yeah, I also went for a hair implant, but they got it the wrong way around.
I see.
Right.
It's all on your bum, is it?
Yeah, all the way up. It catches everything now.
Nice. For those of you who aren't aware, we are, of course, a results and hobby and gaming-based podcast surrounding Middle-earth strategy battle game. I am, of course, the general host. Dave is the one who's actually good at the game. And normally we'd have John, but instead, obviously, we've got Liam. Liam, give us a little chat about yourself. What do you do? How did you get into the hobby? What do people know you for?
Well, probably people know me best for running some awesome events in Worcester and a bit of a random collection of everything, which I kind of just fell into doing the TOing from a friend of mine who used to do it. And he started to complain about how he wasn't really getting to play any games. So I said, I'll help you out and do a few for you. And then he magically disappeared, and now I just do all of them. Yeah, they really enjoyed it. And then I roped my wife into helping me out, which a lot of people will probably know Laura if they've been to any of our tournaments. She does a lot of the back office, all the thankless stuff, but actually makes the tournament work and helps me with setup and everything else. In terms of my hobby background, I probably started doing the hobby before a lot of people who now play in my tournaments were born, because I started out in probably the early 90s. With things like second edition 40k, Space Crusade, Hero Quest, the original ones, and sort of played it from there. I blame my nan because she asked my dad to go get me and my brother something randomly different rather than NES computer games, and she came back with Hero Quest, and that's sort of where it all started from. In terms of Middle Earth, I probably fell into that as well in about sort of 2003 and started playing that. So as a Warhammer staff member, or Games Workshop staff member as they were classed as back then, and they were literally about to release the Return of the King starter set, and that's kind of where I started playing. So yeah, been around it for quite a long time, to be fair.
Yeah, you are very youthful looking, but you're deceptively old. Is how I describe you.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I was in my 40s. So yes, definitely.
But what you're saying is basically that all of us who enjoy your wonderful tournament, which obviously I spout about every time I get a chance to, is that we all have your nan to thank for it.
Basically, yeah, and sadly she's no longer with us. But she lived to the ripe old age of 96, so she really. It is a really good innings. Yeah. My best memory of her was I never realised that she used to wear a wig and false teeth whenever we used to go round to her house, and we left and had to come back because we left something, and my dad sent me in to go and get it, and by which point my nan had taken her teeth out and her wig off, and I thought I was literally being greeted by the undead at the front door. So I'd never seen my nan like that, so that was an interesting sight. So yeah,
Ripping the veil back.
Basically, yes.
Life that you were not prepared for.
Definitely not. Well, definitely not.
I think of incidents of that type, of that sort of formative type, that's probably low on the scale of how bad those can be, I would imagine.
Yeah, I've seen
lot,
worse
I think.
things.
Yeah, long-lasting positive memories and not things that will have you rocking back and forth.
But yes, they have my nan to thank for me being in the hobby and doing the things that I do.
Excellent.
Yeah. And speaking of notting Leon's nan, we are, of course, affiliated with the wonderful Seventh City Collectibles, stockers of all your favourite systems, card games, strategy battle games, 40k, Legion, army painting stuff, supplies, lovely food, lovely stuff. They buy you second-hand armies, they sell you second-hand armies. Just a wonderful place. Go check them out if you're ever in Nottingham, and also check out the link in the description below for more information on that. From there, let's swiftly skip over the hobby section of the podcast because we have a lot of hobby-based podcast stuff coming up. You'll see why. Spoiler, Scott Whitefoot attended an event. And we'll move on to the first event we are covering this weekend, if my mouse will work. Bonds of Fellowship 3 at Victory Games and Events in Havant. That is not how you spell it. We haven't had the spelling course yet in the Any Heroics Apprenticeship program. 27 players in total with 6 rounds. I believe it was veto in pools, if I remember correctly. I did briefly scroll through the mission pack, so apologies if it wasn't.
Grattan did tell me about it, but I don't remember. He was mostly just wanting me to look at his army list.
Well, hopefully you gave him some good feedback. We'll see if he does turn up later. So let's just have a look first of all at the list that list that came third, which is the Dark Powers of Dol Guldur and Azul's Hunters list, which is quite refreshing to see something a bit different, shall we say. Liam, run us through this one, will you?
Okie dokie. So you've got the, interestingly, actually, to be fair, the Necromancer of Dol Guldur leading this bad boy. 2 Hunter Orcs, 5 Gundabad Orc Warriors, all with shield, 6 Gundabads with spear and shield, 1 Gundabad with banner, shield and spear, 3 Mirkwood Spiders, Castellan of Dol Guldur with a Morgul Blade, Castellan of Dol Guldur with Morgul Blade, Narzug, 6 Hunter Orcs with Orc Bows, and 5 Hunter Orcs naked.
I think this might be the most suboptimal list I've ever seen, and I love it.
It looks so fun.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean,
it does look like one of those lists where you really don't want to spend your fate points against it, because you've got Mirkwood Spiders, which paralyze you. You've got the Necromancer, who insta-kills you. He's also got Curse to remove fate. And then you've got 2 Castellans with Morgul Blades.
I'm kind of surprised by this. I think is that Warbound Full? No, it's not. I think the Mirkwood Spiders, whilst a sort of a nice choice in some ways, I do think they kind of, well, maybe they do add something. I don't really know what this list needs, because it's so different. You've got the Hunter Orcs, you've got some Gundabads. I guess I'd probably want them all to have spears, to be honest. Maybe you could drop a Mirkwood Spider for something cheaper and get spears in there, because you kind of want to have your Hunter Orcs at the front and stuff. Narzug, I mean, he's the shooty guy. He's the guy who he hasn't given him a warg either, which, yeah, I mean, it feels like I have these models, so let me play with them kind of situation, because, yeah, this is very much a different kind of list. It has some pretty obvious weaknesses, but also its strengths are kind of neat as well. Like, the Necromancer is a pretty powerful caster and is basically impossible to wound him. You can't deliver victory VPs. VPs for leader wounds is what I'm getting at. It's just the battle line isn't that good. Like, Hunter Orcs backed by Gundabads is fine. It's solid even, but they sort of thrive on outnumbering, and 32 isn't going to outnumber anything really at 700 points unless it's weak as hell. I'd be interested to see how much work the Castellans do, because they are strength 5, fight 5, 2 attacks, and with the access to the Morgul Blade. I mean, I guess that's your hero killing power because you don't really have any other hero killing power. 3 different sources of one shot is actually quite fun though. You don't normally see that. But yeah, getting Narzug or Warg would be good. Realistically, because this can't stand and shoot, because against anything with shooting you'll just shoot the Hunter Orcs to death and then it's got 7 bows.
Interestingly enough, the 3 people on the podium position all went 5-1 at this event.
Oh.
So I'm just looking at the full results on Longshanks. And Luke actually beat the eventual winner, which is not the eventual. He did beat the eventual winner. Yeah, he did. Which is pretty cool.
What scenario was that? Or should we talk about it when it comes up?
I'm trying to.
Should say if it's Longshanks.
Yeah, Divide and Conquer.
That's surprising. I'd be interested to hear how that game went down, because this list getting outnumbered and divides. Well, actually, I suppose you can have the whole list in one side and the 2 Castellans in the other if you want, which is pretty useful.
Does Narzug have March? Or is he strike and accuracy?
He doesn't have strike. He's just accuracy. So I think getting the mounted hero makes a lot of sense, because it allows you to actually chop troops a little bit, and then you have to. I think I'd probably have a serious wonder about whether I wanted Narzug over Fimbul or Yasneg. I think Fimbul is just really good.
Yeah,
this is never going to happen.
The fight 5 with the always charging through terrain with no penalties is pretty interesting.
That's pretty hot, yeah.
Especially on a fell log as well.
I'm the thing I like about this is the Castellans. I think Castellans might be one of my favorite, like, kind of underrated profiles that are really hard to use because they're in an army list that no one plays, and because they are basically, because they're minor heroes, you're forced to sort of. There's no easy way to include them in like an alliance, even though this is green with what are the other ones? Hunter Orcs and Azog's Legion. So Azog's Hunters and Azog's Legion. It's like a 3-way green alliance. You can't ally minor heroes by themselves. Rip Kurdan. So you can't like sprinkle them. You could do something like if you were doing like the Hunter Orc thing where you wanted a Ringwraith as the leader, for example, where sometimes you'll take a warband of dark powers to get like a Witch King in there or a Lingering Shadow. You could bring a Castellan or 2. Maybe at like 650, because expanding Hunter Orcs to 650 is kind of awkward. Maybe you could have a normal captain and then a Castellan, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, it's hard to get them in, but they're quite good. They're very tanky. They're high courage. They have lots of will points. They're strength 5. They're fight 5. They're 2 attacks.
Yeah, they're hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, they have the Ringwraith rule where they have to spend a will point to stay on the board when they fight, but they don't have anything, and they don't really use their will for anything other than they also have essentially use will as fate, same as the Necromancer. So they're very hard to shift, and even if they're like on 1 will, they can just be like objective holders. They're basically half trolls offensively.
Could you, in theory, have an army of just Castellans, or do you need something to lead them because they're minor?
I can't recall the rules on whether or not you need a fortitude or higher, but I think you might.
Yeah, you do. You do. Yeah, because I had someone come to me before with a list where it was pretty much, it was all minor heroes, and we checked it in the book, and yeah, you have to have at least a minimum of fortitude hero to lead your army. Because someone wants to do an all I think it was Dunedain Ranger list, but didn't have anyone like Aragorn or Arathorn to lead it. So
pure independent heroes.
It's for the real.
That's the independent ones, yeah. So maybe
the masochists who love their.
I'm pretty sure it's fortitude or higher.
Yeah, I think it is fortitude. Yeah, it would make sense.
It definitely isn't higher than fortitude.
Let's move on to the second place list. with a relatively familiar name, which is James Gerbils, with a what is coming known as his signature dish at the moment, alongside Jakob Krockmal and also James Starch, with a Numenor Rivendell Last Alliance list. So we've got Isildur on shield and on horse with shields, presumably with the ring as well. He's got 5 warriors with shield, 3 with shield spear, 1 with shield spear banner, and 3 with bone spear. He's got a captain of Numenor with horse, heavy armor, lance, and shield. Eristor with 5 warriors with shield, 3 with spear shields, 3 with spear bow, and a knight with shield. And then Círdan with 2 high elf warriors with shield and 2 high elf warriors with spear and bow. I'm interested as to why he's spent spending the 10 points in the heavy armor shield on the captain. It's only 1 more model and it doesn't improve the breakpoint.
Yeah, 32 models. I think I quite like this, to be honest.
It does have the kind of tools that you'd want a list to have at this point.
Yeah, pretty much the only thing it doesn't have for me is the numbers, but 32 is a perfectly acceptable amount for a list as elite as this, and basically everything in the list is a fighting unit.
Yeah.
You don't have anything that is pure dead weight in there. I don't really get why he's. I imagine this is probably for model reasons, but I don't really get why he's got like some frontline, backline of both varieties. I guess that's not the worst thing in the world, but like really, this line fights at its absolute peak when you have D6 elves backed up by spearmen from Numenor.
Yeah.
Having Numenorian shields and elven spears is wasted points, but I guess it's not so many wasted points that you'd be getting a lot. I think realistically, if you were to max that out and efficiently do it all, you wouldn't save much.
It also means that each warband, as we always say in Maelstrom or even potentially Divide, can operate independently.
Yeah, I mean that's basically the upside. This doesn't have loads of stuff that can modify its.
You don't have enough might.
It doesn't have you wouldn't want to be spending might on that. Yeah, I think this is a really solid list. I think it's basically just one of the better good lists around right now because it doesn't have loads of power to it, but what it does have is like really reliable troops and heroes, and it's got Círdan, who's the best little buff caddy, and it has the ring for a little bit of spice and also for a bit of guaranteed takedown. It's not like you need to compel something. Basically, it has options for when you want to fight something and you don't want to have to basically chance a strike off or like a strike combat, which is really, it's not as good as certain other things, but like it's pretty damn good, I'd say, the ring.
Yeah, Isildur for 135 for what he does is very, very well costed. If he wasn't in such a, I'm not going to say pants army list, but mid-tier army list, you definitely see even more of him. Although I think the amount of Fast Alliance we're seeing at the moment anyway is quite nice.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like the real reason is this battle line beats a Black Numenorian random battle line most of the time.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, they complement each other really nicely, and it's a green alliance, and it gives you access to some really great tools.
And it has play into Dragon Emperor as well. Obviously the strength.
It's not good as a Dragon Emperor, but it's not. It can like hold its own.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean when I say it has play. It's kind of
because it's got 2 Fight 6 heroes, which is a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, James. Yeah. James Goebel. Yeah. I bet he was a great person to play against at this tournament because he always is.
Yeah, he is a lovely fella. And speaking of lovely fellas, if I can actually have an active keyboard, that would be nice. First place, Mr. Samuel Grattan.
Oh no! It's because I gave him all that advice. Oh.
So what you're saying is you can take credit for this one at least, right?
Yeah, I mean, I literally always take credit for all of Sam's wins.
Yeah, me too.
There's basically no reason other than to colonize his, his stuff.
what is quite entertaining is that I believe at the last Bonds of Fellowship tournament, the podium was the other way around, with Sam in second and James in first. So,
Do you think they just timeshare it?
yeah, it's the Gollum's gamers. They rock paper scissors at the start of the tournament for who's going to win.
Yeah, during the school holidays, those of
Yeah.
them who are actually currently based in the southeast.
Yes,
Otherwise,
exactly.
probably.
So
he's
this
up in
is
Bristol, rough area around here.
this is an interesting spin on the Halls of Thranduil Survivors of Lake Town list. 700 points, obviously, 36 models, 10 bows. Thranduil leads the list with Circlet, Heavy Armor, and additional Elven-made Sword, which is kind of, if you were to pick the 3 standard bits, it's probably those bits. 7 Elves with Shield, 3 with Bow and Glaive, 2 Palace Guard with Spear and Shield, 1 Palace Guard with Spear, Shield, Banner, 1 Wood Elf Sentinel, and 1 Mirkwood Cav with Shield, a Palace Guard Captain with Shield, 4 Mirkwood Elves with Shield, 2 Mirkwood Elves with Elf Bow, Elven-made Glaive, and 1 with Elven-made Glaive. And then the final warband is Bilbo Baggins Master Burglar with 4 Militia with Bow Spear and 7 with just Spear. So it's quite a Uno reverse on the standard Thranduil Legolas with a Chud Lake Town Militia Captain. You've got the ring added. You've got a 3 might Bilbo. This version's 3 might, right, Dave?
Yeah, he's 333.
Yeah.
So I scrolled back in my conversation with Sam because we had a whole conversation about how much he hates Bilbo after this event.
Oh, really?
Did he not do him well?
Yeah. Let me quote it for you. Sorry. He says, Bilbo is definitely a shit model. He killed Beowulf for me, so I respect his aura, but 4-inch move is so wank. So wank. But he's a Chad, so I'm happy I took him. That's his insight on Bilbo. Also, yeah, he also says Giza is worth nothing. There you go. That's Sam's opinions on Bilbo.
I've got some interesting trivia about James Goebel's list. The only scenario he lost was against Smaug into the death.
Yeah, he got Smauged in the first round. I remember. So the reason Bilbo was in this list was the second round. Sorry, I knew it was the first day. The reason that Sam was so concerned about taking Bilbo was because he knew there was, I think, 2 or possibly even 3 Smaugs attending, and it's not that big of a tournament. So it's like having a turbo ring bearer is cash money because Smaug just can't do anything against Bilbo. Because
I can only see
you can't even
2.
There's only 1. Oh, it's 2 Smags. I mean, 2 Smags is still a lot in a 27-person tournament. Like,
ouch! Yeah, that's
overkill. Probably prevalent.
That's too many Smaugs.
too many.
A lot of Smags. Yeah. So yeah, he knew that was happening because the guys in their local scene weren't hiding the fact they were taking Smaug. Multiple people had already just fessed up to it. So before he even submitted his list, so he was like, right, well, I'm taking this. I know he's saying he practiced a version that had 1 warband of elves and like more blokes. It was like 2 warband. He had a Lake Town captain and more blokes instead of the Palace Guard captain, and he was like, it's just too much of the army is too weak.
Yeah.
So he decided he'd rather have a more elite army with more elves, and I think that is sensible.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's got bits and bobs. He's got a Cav. He's got a Sentinel. He's got a smattering of Palace Guard and a Palace Guard captain, which is a really nice little setup because the Palace Guard captain, it has bodyguard, which means that you never have to. I mean, yeah, he's carried 6 anyway, but it's still like bodyguard is just even better. There's no rolling. You've got another stand fast, all that stuff. So yeah, but this has actually got a lot of courage mitigation in it. I still don't think this is. I don't think this kind of setup really comes into its own until you start whacking in Gandalf. But I think I respect that Sam is continuing to try this setup and having some success with it. Clearly,
yeah.
But, I do think this gets kind of punked by more meta armies, though. Is the only thing.
Yeah, I feel like against, let's just say, the standard Witch King Sully, like.
Well, at 700, this would probably get beaten bad by that, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll never know because
he'll never play this list again.
Yeah, it's over.
It's over. He's
Bilbo's
used it.
in the bin.
Bilbo's in the bin.
Yeah, Bilbo's gone. He's been exiled.
Bilbo is one of the. This version of Bilbo is a profile that I always look at, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice. Having a
It's a
green
lot
light
of
ring user, and then you're like, oh, he's a
90
4-inch move,
points.
90 points.
Yeah, he's not. He does lead 12 guys. To be fair, like I remember thinking ages ago, like that didn't really make sense to me. But then, like, it doesn't really make sense from a theme point of view. But it's like, if you can't lead guys, that profile is unusably expensive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Bilbo's quite a bit of a honey trap, isn't he? Because he's the whole thing of like, oh, a ring bearer that doesn't have to roll to see whether he succumbs to the power of the ring. It's quite a nice one to have. That he's quite reliable. But then you look at.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, then you just look at his 4 inches and then get disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, 4 inches was quite disappointing for everyone.
The fact that you're more likely to see other good young Bilbo in Army of Lake Town, and that is a slightly more appealing price point. 60 points, and he can have a pony, which means that before you put your ring on, getting into position is a bit more reliable. And his ponies are only 5 points.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's move on to the second. Oh yeah, well done, Sam. Let's move on to the second tournament of the weekend gone by. You'll all be wondering why Liam's here, because
was there not a best painted at this event?
There was.
Oh right, okay.
We didn't collect that information apparently. So the roving reporter.
What we'll do is we'll blame the intern.
We'll blame the intern
while he's not here to defend himself, and then move on.
Yeah.
We'll carry on from there.
Worcester War Games.
Who the hell is that?
Shires in Worcester.
Some weird backwater.
Yeah, although there's that's not right. The tournament organizer was Laura Smith.
We now just put it on there now. It's just
you do always say. I mean, everyone needs a Laura in their life to help them run a tournament, as Matt King would agree.
Can attest, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
His is a different Laura though. I don't want people to start thinking that they share the Laura. We share the Laura.
You've got a wife share.
But Matt is marrying his Laura as well this year, so
yeah.
In fact, that's why I'm not going to be able to go to Poland this year. Stupid wedding.
Yeah.
Same sort of time then. Okay.
It's the same weekend, yeah.
Oh wow.
I know. Still, I'm happy to.
Devastating.
Well, yeah. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? It's not go to Poland, I guess. It was a 700-point tournament. It was 6 games, 1 from each pool, which is always nice to see because
so creative, so unique.
It's very unique. It's very, very creative.
6 games just falls into it so well. So why not?
Yeah, no, I mean 6 games
is already a bit unique anyway. So I haven't played much Good v Evil this year.
Oh really? Yeah, I think I think the only time I've seen it was the. Well, to be fair, the GT. Yeah, the GT was this year. I keep forgetting.
It's every year, I think. But yeah, no, I didn't go to the GT because they hide their ticket releases in the most difficult to find places. If you don't have to look, it's like, okay.
You also suspiciously the same names get tickets every single year, which I think there's a Warhammer World cartel.
But I do think the actual reason is not even the one that you're sort of implying, is the fact that certain kinds of people are the people who actually pay attention to like the Warhammer website and stuff, whereas like most people who are like on the GBHL circuit don't do that.
Listen, if I can't complain about it, then
don't get me wrong, complain away. I just I don't think it's that thing.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not actual corruption. Come on, I'm just trying to create a spicy headline.
It's totally corruption. Put that on the thumb.
Yeah,
they're hidden it in their emails.
World. Battle of the Five Shires was a 6-game tournament, good versus evil. At the start of each game, you'd roll as to see whether you were good or evil. So there's a chance you'd only play one Arminist the entire weekend. Which I think most of the people I spoke to got 4 and 2. Elliot, who was trying to film a video regarding the Night of Umbar, actually only got to play the Night of Umbar once.
to his great success, he
Yeah, to his great
been alive
success.
on more than once. I got 3 and 3, which is pretty nice.
Nice.
Part
Yeah.
of that was in the final round. It was a kind of like I was a rematch, and we'd played one side, and we were kind of like, well, maybe we just play the other side of this matchup, just because that way we both got to play 3 and 3, and also we'd already done the other side of the matchup, so we were kind of like, well, Liam's not my king. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
I think I did say to a few people, I was like, if you get to the table and you have a gentleman's agreement about it, I don't mind if you do agree to have like one person having good, one person having evil, as long as you're both happy with it.
Yeah, I definitely saw a couple of those where it was like, oh, we've got a really fluffy matchup if we do it this way around. And I was just like, yeah, that's the way it should be done. Is if both people are happy, then both people are happy.
Yeah.
It was pretty neat as well, because again, it meant we both played 3 and 3, and also we'd already played the other side of it. So we were like, yeah, screw it. I don't really want to play your Riv Knights at Retrieval anyway. So okay.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be great fun.
So most sporting was Rob Howard, who I had the pleasure of playing. I also had the pleasure of traveling up and down with him. So shout out Rob. Also shout out Mark and that other beardy dude who drove me. I can't remember his name. Best painted mini and army was won by the incredible Scott Whitefoot. More of him to come in just a moment. And best display board was Richard Croydon. More of
that
him
was something else
to come. Yeah. I mean, both of these hobbyists turning up at the same event is quite it's quite a privilege, to be honest, and we'll see why. Because hang on, if I can get, there we go. This is Scott Whitefoot's. I mean, it's. I think the category on his, because he does painting commission, is legendary. It's a new Glorfindel model. I say new; it's a couple of years old. It's just absolutely stunning work.
Yeah, so Scott, this is his Instagram picture. It's SW Painting Studio. He's an excellent painter. If you check him out,
he does do commissions. So there'll be a link in the description.
He's currently doing. I think this might have been his Evil Army for this tournament. Actually, he's currently doing like a sort of samurai Easterling army, where it's basically Easterlings, but there are some very nifty conversions. He's done like he's replaced like I have no idea where he's got these from, but he's replaced a lot of the swords on the heroes and stuff with like katanas, and he's gone for like more certain like Japanese style or Asian inspired headwear on some of them instead of the Easterling rune things that they show in the movies, which is very, very cool. And I really admire how I was really happy to see them in person, actually, because they've got a real like a matte black effect on the cloaks, and I've never seen that done before, at least not in person. And it was, I don't know if I think it even looks that good. I just think it's fascinating. Like, I like it. I have no idea how hard it is to do, or none of that information. It just looks really striking, which is clearly the point. I don't know. Check him out. He's good. He's a good painter. I'd give him at least a 6 out of 10 for painting.
Yeah, excellent painter. I'd say he's. If he goes to the event and he doesn't win best painted, I am usually very surprised.
Well, it basically only happens when he's using an army that everyone there has seen before. Like I've seen that happen. Like it feels kind of bad because it's like that is the nicest army here, but Scott, I've seen it like 6 times, and I sort of feel bad voting for you every time. You know, like
you've almost got an award for each model in the army at this point. Come on,
I'm not made of stone. I'm not someone who I'll like try and reward things I haven't seen before. Which is not necessarily how it's supposed to work, but also fuck it, I can vote for who I want.
We will just briefly run through what was his good army at the tournament, which is what won best army, which was his Riders of Theoden. He has an older Theoden sculpt, which is the very start of the Ride of the Rohirrim scene when he leads the charge, and it's really
also. I just want to point out that as a Theoden enjoyer, I can spot that he's swapped the sword and the shield on that model for
the left-handed
Theoden sword and shield. No, that's just those are just not the ones that come with that actual model.
Oh, really?
Like that shield is thicker and clearly the plastic shield, because the one I've
Yeah.
got is like very uneven. And I could be wrong, but I think this pose is very rare in metal. Like it's really, really rare. So I've got one of these in Finecast, and it is unfortunately fairly susceptible to certain like bends, and the sword on mine snapped off very, very easily by accident. So that might be why he's got a plastic sword there, because the other reason is the plastic sword is thicker and has more room to do that sexy non-metallic metal, which is possibly the reason. I didn't get a chance to interrogate him about it because I didn't notice until I was looking at it on Instagram later.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, that's not the official model.
Scott very kindly provided these photos for us to draw over, including
the objective markers. Really nice.
Yeah, that's for what happens if you have Eowyn and Erden, which is funny. If Merry stays mounted, Durnhelm does not give a fuck about dead Theoden. But as soon as Merry comes off, Eowyn's like, oh,
I did actually. Uncle. I had that happen to me this weekend where it was just the fact that their horse had died. So like she was still exactly the same person. Merry was still alive. Her horse died, and she's like, "Oh, my uncle's dead. Oh no."
Well, technically, if she is Durnhelm when he dies, I don't know if you even placed the marker.
It's unclear.
It's a genuine question, because the rule does not exist. That is an Eowyn rule.
Yeah,
anyway, that's
mainly because it was created before Durnhelm existed, and that's the issue.
Well, yeah.
Maybe
that would be a good TO question.
Gonna get the FAQ thing in now.
Moving on to the Richard Croydon display board. Now, this was an absolute monstrosity of a masterpiece. Richard Croydon's also the guy who did the Minas Morgul gates opening and the riders riding out board with the lighting and the fell beast on top and whatnot. So it's the same guy who did this with similar amounts of LED and resin effects and spider webs. I mean, his armies for the weekend were fell beings of Mirkwood with a very heavy spider theme and the printing goes ever on spider queen, which you can see in the picture there, and then a Thranduil's Hall's arm. So it's a both sides of Mirkwood. With some nice alternative sculpts for the Mirkwood Cav and Thranduil. And this was just, I spent a good couple of minutes looking at this, just being like, I guess I'm never making a display board because
some people are just too good at it. Yeah.
It will never compare.
It's a pretty cool. It's a pretty cool build. Yeah. When I played against him, because he had all of his stuff was 3D printed, he didn't know what all the base sizes were supposed to be. So between Saturday and Sunday, he rebased his bat swarm onto the correct base size, which I thought was quite good dedication. By the time this photo was taken, it's already been put on a 40mm that he made on the Saturday night.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to go up to him and chat to him about his stuff, he's very passionate and enthusiastic.
He really is. So, very much is. He built and painted this just for this event as well. Hopefully he'll use it for future events. But yeah, I sort of saw all the sort of in progress pictures as well as he was building and painting it. And he only started doing it because I announced the display boards as a separate tournament prize.
Which is something I really appreciate, actually, separating display boards. I mean, other hosts of this podcast, John, may balk at the idea, but I think we can all agree that allowing the separation between a really good paint job and a really good display board is quite important. That's not to...
Representation isn't worthless, but it shouldn't make you think that the army is better than it is.
Exactly. Richard also
that's not a good way of phrasing that, really, but yeah.
Richard also placed in the best single mini and the best army categories as well.
Yeah.
But this was just outstanding. And I don't think from the outset everyone saw what was available on the display boards and thought, "Oh, these are all lovely," but this is something else.
Yeah, Richard came second in both best painted single miniature and best painted armies. So he's got the paint skills as well to back up the army part side of it, as well as the building skills to do the display board as well. So very much kudos to him, because he puts in a lot of hobby effort, and that's his main focus. So he produces some gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But moving on to the podiumists, in third place we had Mr. Clayton Hodges, with a combination of Mordor, not Sully, which is a bit of an interesting mix-up on that one.
Yeah,
it's
he's
kind
just
of
real buggy Mordor, isn't he?
It's a battle of the Pelennor Mordor, almost, is how I would describe it.
But it's Morannon's. It's Army of Gothmog and the Witch King, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's the cool thing about that list, it is 100% Morannon's, which is very, like, there's no trackers to bulk out numbers, which arguably would make it better. There's no, like, he's just said, right, I've got Gothmog, I've got the Witch King, I've got Girets, I've got Zagdish, I'm just going for it. Like, personally, I'd rather have Gorbag than Zagdish. I think Gorbag is better for the same points, but they're very comparable. And I think in Good v Evil, you can get away without having like a Cardish or something. I like this list. I think it might arguably be better if, rather than running, I don't know, I keep thinking, like, if you're not going to run, like, I like Shagrat, for example, and if you've got Gothmog, you can have Shagrat over like Girets and Zagdish, because Shagrat is a beast. But then, like,
I'm just going to quickly interject and read the list for our beloved audio listeners.
sorry,
Witch King on horse with crown, 3 additional might, 2 additional will, 2 fates. Then he's got 10 Morannons, half with shield spear. Gothmog on Warg with shield, 5 Morannons with shield, 5 with shield spear. Gurit's Master of Reserves, 3 with shield, 4 with shield spear, and Zagdush, 3 Morannon with shield and 4 with shield spear. So he's gone for the I like to call it the you put the hero in the front, and then you have an additional spear in that warband kind of thing to back up that hero, which is, if you're building an army list, it's just a nice tiny little trick. It's nothing too complicated.
It's a pretty hard list, The main issue with it is the numbers are a little bit low.
Yeah.
That's basically, I wouldn't even necessarily say that was an issue, but it also doesn't have any like Warg Riders or things like that. But also, conversely, D6 everywhere is actually pretty tough. And if you're playing against goods, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I think this list would go pretty well into a lot of armies that are quite common on the good side.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't like to play against something like Bjornings, though.
Yeah, or Iron Hills. I always say, if you're a Morannon Orc and you see Iron Hills or Erebor reclaimed across the table, you go, you've got 1 more fight value. My strength is irrelevant, and your strength is very relevant.
That's why one of the reasons why I think Shagrat is a great inclusion, because Shagrat basically gives you something. He gives you something that can beat up dwarves.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool list.
Moving on to his Defenders of Helm's Deep list, he's got Theoden, obviously, because you have to have Theoden, with heavy armor and shield, with Halath, 4 warriors with shield throwing spear, 4 warriors with shield, 4 royal guard with throwing spears, 2 royal guard, and then he's got Gamling with the standard, 3 warriors of Rohan with spear and shield, 3 with just shield, and then 4 royal guard with throwing spears and 2 royal guard. And then the final warband, he's got Legolas with elven cloak and armor, and 10 Galadhrim warriors with spear and elf bow.
Yeah, so a few things about this. One thing, it's 2 points under. You could just give a throwing spear to one of those warriors of Rohan.
It's hurting you, isn't it, Dave?
It's a bit annoying. I imagine that's probably just to do with the models that he's got there. The other thing is, elven cloak on Legolas, not worthless, but it's a lot of points. Elven cloak and armor together are a lot of points to spend on upgrades to a hero that isn't really a combat fighter and probably won't be in combat unless you're absolutely piling something just to strike, basically. In which case, he doesn't really need the defense anyway.
Yeah, that would give you 10 additional points for throwing spears, which is kind of
It would, yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Like those extra 12 points that are there, basically just you max out the throwing spears. I don't think you should have any Warriors of Rohan without throwing spears in this list. Like Royal Guard on the front, if you just need to make up the numbers, fine, because you the D6. But like throwing spear warriors should always be behind stuff. Also, this is just a little thing, but I don't really know why he's got all of his Galathrym with Legolas.
yeah.
Like I played against him, and it meant that his deployment was all the elves were away from a lot of the other stuff in the list, and it meant that once Haleth died, because Haleth was causing all kinds of problems with the Fight 5 on the Royal Guard, but when Haleth was dead, there wasn't any Fight 5 in the battle line, and that meant that I could match him. And I think that having some Galathrym over on that side of the board would have caused me all kinds of trouble. So I don't know. Yeah, personally on this list, I think this is actually really good. I think I would prefer not to have Haleth and to have like 3 more guys, or like just bump up the numbers slightly. Although to be honest, I'm not 100% sure about that anymore, because when we played Haleth was an absolute villain. So
yeah, I've always have a soft spot for Haleth. I just love the Fight 5 on the Rohan Royal Guard. I always find that useful.
yeah. Also, even if you don't do that, you can still be like, you can still use him like a mighty hero with gambling. So actually, yeah. There's a lot to it. I really like that list. Actually, I'm sort of very slowly G'ing myself up to making that. I mean, I've from the it was from the Pro Team Championship last year. I won 5 blisters of Rohan Royal Guards that I need to build. I haven't done any of them yet, but yeah, someday I will do that and play this list.
Lovely. So yeah, shuffle your Galathan Warriors about. Why wouldn't you? Get the Fight 5 in every warband
Give you the
non-conditionally.
at least.
Yeah, and it also
Basically,
lets you the range threat's quite nice to have in every warband.
Well, the only reason you'd have this is if you thought at some point you might be plopping down just a shooting warband, which, in fairness, with Haleth, you can do that without getting punished quite so much, because you don't lose the Fight 5. But for my money, that's not ever really optimal. Maybe if there was like a one long shooting alley that you could be like, right, here are my 30-inch bows that you have to walk into, but I don't. Yeah, you could still do that without having them all in one warband. I mean, I don't know. I think this is a good list. And I shouldn't knock it too much because he came third.
Yeah.
I think he was 4 wins, a draw, and a loss.
He was,
indeed.
yeah.
Moving on to the second place list, a name which we don't need to talk about, Mr. David Farmer with Bayonings and Kirith Ungol, so double legendary legions. Dave, talk us through your Bears list.
Bjornings, I borrowed them off Sam Grattan, actually, because I wanted to try them. I've been meaning to sort of give them a go. Honestly, not sure I feel them, although maybe that was just because mistakes were made at my game that I lost with them, and it's frustrating me sort of secondhand. But yeah, it's just Bjorn, Grumbjorn, 15 Bjornings, 4 of which have great bows. So 2 great bows in each warband. Bjorn has the extra guide just because, yeah, I mean, like 17 models doesn't feel like a lot, but if you ever played with these guys, they are, they're absolute beasts. The main thing I found with this was might management is quite important. You can't afford to spend might most of the time, and the bears themselves don't get rerolls. So the bears serve as banners to the Bjornings, 6-inch banners essentially, but the bears themselves don't get rerolls, and that means that they are fairly susceptible to randomly whiffing against anything that has a lot of attack. So I played my final game. I played against Hunter Orcs and Bits of Dogadur, and I wasn't taking damage from the losing the fights, particularly usually just because D8 and the bear save and the 3 fate, but it meant that I wasn't making loads of progress either. So, yeah, anything that has loads of attacks, the bears can sometimes struggle against. But this thing just absolutely rips through stuff, which can be to your detriment. Like when I was playing Dewey, which was the game I lost, I was like, all right, it's heirlooms. I need a chance to try and catch up and get stuff. But unfortunately, Bjornings, even if you don't two-hand, Bjornings just absolutely slaughter regular orcs. And there's no way not to do that, unfortunately. Unless you particularly wanted to pay for weapon swaps to give them all like maces, which I mean, honestly, I'm kind of thinking that might not be a bad idea. That might not be a bad idea because actually, that is something that list really struggles with is like delaying for objective purposes. And if you could just bash everybody consistently, that would probably be
Convert
pretty
them
lit.
all to be spade Beornings instead, and they're all grave diggers. So they just go around bonking people instead.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. There's not that much to say about the Beornings, to be honest. It's not a very interesting army list. Gareth Ungol, on the other hand, is sort of like a baby of mine.
Yeah, it's your child, isn't it? Really.
Well, I've done pretty well with this list, and as far as I'm aware in the GBHL, I don't know of anyone else consistently doing well with it or taking it to success at GBHL 100. So I sort of feel kind of some ownership over it. So this list is 700 points. One of the points levels where it goes pretty well, I think. Shagrat is the leader with all the trimmings. I've got 10 Mordor Urukai with Shagrat. And then I've got Gorbag with shield, 10 Orcs with spear and shield. I've got a Mordor Urukai captain with shield, 8 Mordor Urukai with shield, and 1 with the 2-handed mace. The only reason I have 1 with the 2-handed mace is because I actually only have 18 with shield. Otherwise, I'd give him a shield as well. And then I've got an Orc captain with nothing, and I've got 9 Orcs with spear and shield, 1 Orc with banner and shield, and then Shelob. As I was just saying, this list, apart from the Orc captain, every single model in this list can go non-lethal, which, again, having the mace and a shield in a fight means you can't, but obviously it's not really meant to be a mace. And the mace by itself can bash as well, which means you don't have to kill. But that means that you can actually stall for a really, really long time with this list if you need to get in position, which actually happened to me once. My opponent airlimbed me, and I had to spend the entire game shielding across the entire map, basically, while Shelob barged her way over.
Excuse me, coming through.
Yeah, literally, it was like, someone hold those dwarves in place while Shelob is like pushing people around and running over there. Shelob is really fun in this list as well. I think she's good in general, but the extra attack really beefs her up a lot. Like, I played against Clayton and his defenders, and Shelob was an absolute monster that game. She lost one fight on the first time when Legolas struck up, but after that, I think she rolled a 6 in every single fight, which is just gorgeous Shelob behavior. That did not continue in the next game I played with her, but that was okay. We allow for these sorts of things.
We do indeed.
My game against Luke, Shelob was not performing to those levels.
She was removed from the table quite swiftly, I believe.
Well, she was removed. I say that she took a lot of wounds from shooting and then was collapsed on by Glorfindel, and I was like, there's a decent chance she just dies, but he gave me an opportunity to charge Galadriel with her, and I was like, I mean, I'm still taking it. Because if Shelob beats a model in the Legion, you get full rerolls. That I didn't get a 6 anyway, even with 7 dice. So 6 dice. So go figure. So I didn't even have to do the roll off. But again, with an Elven Blade, it's a sketchy one. Anyway, it's a fun list. I really like it. I think it basically, if Mordor Urukai could have heavy armor and D6, this would actually be a good list, like a strong list. Because they don't, it's not. It's like mid-tier, but like the rules actually synergize really well, and if you're playing like a slightly less, like a not quite so top tier tournament, like if you're not playing 100s, you're playing like a 90, especially Good v Evil, because if you're playing Good v Evil, Shelob's going to have something that she can go after, that she wants to fight and get the extra attacks. It works really well. It's a fun list.
That's the rule where she gets additional attacks versus men, dwarves, elves, and hobbits.
Well, Shelob normally has 1 attack. Yeah, it's dwarves as well. Dwarves, hobbits. She's great against dwarves. Even like, because she's strength 7, so like even like stuff like Durin is like just gets eaten by Shelob.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's a personal favorite of mine.
Away from your spider-based fantasies, onto the first place list.
Did you cut his hair off?
With a totally different
made him bold.
Spider.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's mean. No.
Yeah, this is. I would like to. So for full clarity, I was playing Mr. Doherty Evans for the well, not for first place necessarily, but if I'd won the game, I could have placed. I did not make this picture happen. all credit goes to the intern. So thank you, John, for doing this.
Get
He
to see
said that he
what
just
Dewey would like it without hair. Great.
yeah, we have we use the remove background website for like all the model things that we cut out, and then this time we wanted to use a picture of Dewey, and it just presented itself apparently. So yeah, Mr. Dewey Evans on 6 wins total. He had 2 lists, one of which he played once and one which he played 5 times. The list he played once was Survivors of Lake Town with Bard, Armor Horse, the Kiddies, Alfred, 2 Lake Town with Shield, 3 with Spear, 4 with Bow, Gandalf on Horse, 3 with Shield, 4 with Spear, 4 with Bow, a Lake Town Militia Captain, 3 with Shield, 4 with Spear, 4 with Bow, and Hilda Bianca with 2 with Shield, 1 with Nothing, 4 with Spear, and 3 with Bow. This is a list I really want to run. Not because I think it's incredible. I think it's okay. It eats absolute shit.
That's for sure.
It eats absolute shit into something like the Dragon Emperor, which just outfights it across the board and outkills it across the board and isn't too far off in numbers. But when you get a Gigabard with the 6 might and the 3 heroic combats, and then if you've got time to prep, you can, strengthen Will Alfred up from Gandalf. It just looks quite fun to play. The reality is, Bard charges in. He's got 4 dice to win the fight. You're on too high. You lose your horse, and then you cry for the rest of the game because he's only D5.
That's called the Elendil problem. That is.
Yeah.
Any hero that's like seems super beefy but then doesn't have any built-in rerolls.
Yeah.
There's always a chance that 4 dice too high is unfortunately a little bit iconic.
He's inspiring to all of the people of Edgaroth, but not himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually got some deep-seated insecurities.
Yeah.
He's not. He's no king.
Got some relative issues, I think it is.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Doherty's list that he used 5 times was his Fell Beings of Mirkwood list. Leader was, of course, as always, Razgush, War Leader of the North, who's basically a knockoff Shagrat, but not quite as good. 3 Orc Warriors with Shield, 1 Orc Warrior, 4 Orc Warriors with Spear, 1 Giant Spider, a Fell Warg, 4 Trackers, and a Bat Swarm. The Spider Queen, everyone's favourite, better version of Shelob, don't at me, Kirithangol enjoys. 3 Orc Warriors with Shield, 1 Orc Warrior, 4 Orc Warriors with Spear, 1 Bat Swarm, a Fell Warg, a Mirkwood Spider, 3 Trackers, and a Warg Rider with Banner and Shield. And then an Orc Captain on Warg with 3 Orcs with Shield, 1 Orc Warrior, 4 Orc Warriors with Spear, 1 Giant Spider, and 3 Orc Trackers on Warg. Hell yeah, motherfucker. And then he also had an Orc Drummer at the end.
When I look at this list, I makes me wish that I could have Wargs for my captains in Kirithangol.
Yeah.
Or Trackers, for that matter.
And an Orc Captain on Warg with a Bat Swarm is just such an effective gang squad.
It's pretty cheeky. I mean, this list is the main. Basically, it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. Pretty much the only stuff in it that's actually bum is the fact that it basically has to rely on regular orcs as the bulk of your troops, which means that you have to use your heroes for a lot of stuff. And Razgush isn't really a difference maker in combat. He's like the rules in this legion are like designed to help you get the better of like elves, which is cool in Good v Evil. It's a nice thing to have. But yeah, the regular orcs are just little scrubs, and Razgush is 5/5, strength 4. Unless he's fighting an elf, in which case he fights. And I think maybe it's just in this legion he gets fight 6.
Yeah, he gets fight 6 against elves.
Right. Well, I mean, it didn't against Bjornings. He'd like it as well. Except when I played Dewey, he lost a fight against a single Bjorning and was technically slightly trapped, and he immediately died instantly. I did 4 wounds. It just killed him outright. Because Bjorning's strength 5 when they piercing strike, and it's like, oh, forced wound, splat. See you later, Razgush.
Oh dear.
At this point, he already had the heirloom on a bat swarm, so he wasn't exactly fretting about it. It was just a funny moment, but it was a bit like, yeah, that's Razgush. Boom.
Yeah, Razgush is not the secret source of the list. If you could swap Razgush for literally almost any other orc hero in the Mordor list,
Yeah,
you would.
Basically, my problem with this list is it's cool, but its special rules do not justify its existence over just Mordor Spider Queen, which is like
Yeah.
the same kind of thing, but just miles better. But this is a
And-
more fun, more themey version. There is no real advantage other than the fact that it's cool, and that's enough, really.
Yeah, I mean, you can take spiders and bat swarms in Razgosh's warband, and you can take orcs in the Spider Queen's warband, which means you're
You
not
can take
restricted
bat swarms in the Spider Queen's warband, so Mordor Spider Queen also has bat swarms.
Sorry, what I mean is you can flex where you're going to take that additional mobility and objectification.
That does not over like.
But the ability to
effect.
the ability to use the 15 slots of the Spider Queen's warband is potentially nice.
Yeah, it's not nothing, but like when you consider that you want to have,
you would
more
rather
elite
just
troops,
have a race.
You want to have more elite troops anyway, like Morannons and Black Numenorians, so you don't actually need it. But I mean, like I said, I understand the value of this. It's just, it's a cool list.
This army would eat absolute shit into a standard like Witch King Sully list.
Yeah, in fact it did at the Masters last year.
Yeah, Terror and Fight for, and Harbinger of Evil.
Yeah. Even with the Shaman, it's too easy to take away its.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, you say Shelob is worse than the Spider Queen, but in a straight fight, Shelob beats the Spider Queen every time. So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Heroic Strike.
Simply barge onto the Spider Queen when fighting next to her, and if she strikes, you don't have to fight. If she wins the fight, she does like 2 wounds.
But are we talking about a straight up fight or not? Because
if it's a straight up fight, anytime Shelob wins, Shelob has an opportunity to one shot, whereas anytime the Spider Queen wins, she'll do like 2-3 wounds max.
Yeah, I suppose.
Speaking of someone who's played this matchup between Kirisungul on this list, Shelob did win and did kill the Spider Queen in one. So take that, Spider Queen enjoyers.
Moving on to everyone's favourite section of the podcast, which isn't where we stare at Dewey Evans's imaginary bald head.
God, it's freaking me out.
Yeah, it's maybe we should call him David Evans.
Anyway, the important thing is I already have a Herogrim, and I don't have one of those nice little widget sheets, so I'm happy with coming second.
I don't have a Herogrim, and I was using Riders of Theoden, so it was quite upsetting for me when.
Well, if you hadn't been using Riders of Theoden, I would have borrowed them. So
yeah, true. Yeah, rest in peace, my Herogrim dreams. Although finding space for a fourth sword would apparently have been we just sling it in the corner. So I'm sure Dewey's actually put it in a nice place.
Wait, he's probably put it with his axe because he's already got got Thorin's sword last time.
He did, yeah.
Well, I let him off because he's having another baby, so he won't be coming to tournaments for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
You just make his children fight with 2 swords. Give 1 each.
It's a bit unfair to make a newborn fight with a sword.
Disclaimer, any heroics and heroic stats does not support or advise the violence amongst children or betting on child violence or giving swords or axes to children. Moving on to the comments. Mr. Eliwu2 says, Tio for the NLS event here. I have no idea which one the NLS event was. I'm really sorry. I might have to cut this out of the podcast. Thank you so much for covering our event. It was a pleasure to see your members attend. We also laugh at the bussy. No, okay, it was the Norwich event at the Scout Hut. I remember because it's the Scout Hut, which is called Bussy.
You weren't there.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember it.
That's why you don't remember.
I was like, oh god, I've gone to an event that I don't remember.
It was the one that Jordan won.
Yes, yeah. No, I'm glad you also laugh at the bussy. Duncan Peacock says, I played against Mr. Moore in the final round with my Numenor Lothlorien, made a few blunders, blame the heat, that's what I always do. And the Uber Spider Queen ate me. Well played, Mr. Moore. He said he had the 2 black shields because he liked the models. That was a good reason. I think the last round matchup of Destroy the Supplies was a challenge for me. I probably should have given up 1 supply and tried to pick up the Spider Queen as I had a banner. You live and learn. And this is in reference to the Moria list that was basically take the Spider Queen and then give her Ashrak and Druzag and make her giga strong. Which won a Scottish tournament, I believe.
Yeah, it was Jamie Moore, Dougie Moore. I think one of the Moors. There's
One
a
of
lot of Moors up there.
There's a lot of Moors, a lot of Scottish Moors.
There is a lot of Scottish Moors.
Yeah,
In fact, I think at Scarring and Stirlingshire, they pretty regularly do like a Moor, like a sweepstakes or like a trophy for the highest finishing Moor.
Oh, nice.
Because there's
That'd
like
be pretty
7
cool.
of them at one point. It's a common surname.
Freerun DJS Dirk says, my DMs with Michael are not fit to be published, sadly. On a serious note, it might be a good idea to have a podcast on TOing at some point, just to go over what you need to run an event and what you should expect. This is something that we almost definitely will do at some point. We'll either get someone like Leon or Will or Dewey or Bradford back on.
We've never had any TOs on this podcast,
Yeah.
Stephen.
No, none.
None ever.
Anyway.
In a more empty calendar week, we definitely will be looking to do something similar to that.
It would be something that I would love to do, because a lot of people have said about the pitfalls of running their first event and having experienced TOs to basically just say, just make sure you do this, or make sure you check in this, or make sure you have backup on this, are things that I know in my first few events, I made a lot of mistakes. And you learn from them very quickly. But if you can talk to experienced TOs, it makes your life so much easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's always things that, like, once you see them, they're like, oh my God, how did I not think of that? But it's like, if you are coming at it from a no idea what you're supposed to be doing point of view, it's like, yeah, it's really easy to miss things. And then, like, because, like, I mean, like, people like Ali or Matt King or Will are super experienced running events, so like they have it like down to a kind of a science. They can even adapt to like a new place and get things running like 80% smoothly with ease. But yeah, if you're doing it for the first time, you don't have that context of all that back knowledge, as it were.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That's a good idea.
It's one thing just to make sure that people enjoy their TOing experience and feel like they did a good job to do it again, because it's like DMing. You always want more TOs in the world so that the TOs can play tournaments. Like
yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
So you meant DM like what Doug was just talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Need more DMs in the world. Am I right?
Ping Wix says, interesting that you guys don't seem to rate the Mahud Raiders. I play against them often, and it might just be hot dice, but I tend to always get ganked by them. I always try and avoid and shoot them as much as possible, but they're incredibly scary second wave and can use the impaler hits to free themselves from getting tagged up, even if they lose the move. Probably just scarred from statistically skewed dice, though. Last game, I lost 6 elves to 1 camel, and that was the Jesus. Yeah.
Sticks are unfortunately your enemy on these things, because sometimes you'll be like, well, that shouldn't happen, and then you lose like 14 models. I think I once played Lords of Battle against someone who had 2 Mahut Kings on camel and 4 regular raiders, and he won the first move roll off. He put them in a really risky position where the rest of his army was in no position to follow up. It was Lords of Battle, and I was using Hobbits, Elves, and Boromir, and he won the first move roll off. I think he killed like 11 Hobbits between them, and that's not even that many either, considering he has 6. So it was like, at Lords of Battle, that's a pretty big deficit to start with. It was like, oh,
it's just a strength 4 hit, right?
Yeah, it's just how many 4+s can you roll? But it was like me playing the Great Beasts against Camille on the final turn. I had a massive, on the final game, sorry, Chippenham, I had a massively hot turn, and it was like, that wasn't really statistical, but Camille took it well, and I sort of felt like I was owed a turn of absolute carnage because I'd been having a slightly bad Great Beast luck all tournament. So I just had an absolute rampage and killed like 14 goblins with the single Great Beast move, which is just delightful.
Yeah,
just so good.
The reason we don't rate the Mahud Raiders quite as much is just because the points, they're expensive.
Fight through troops that are 19 points are always going to be kind of hard to. Also, Courage 2. There's a lot of things wrong with them because, like, yeah, they're good and they have a high ceilings, but they have very low floors. And when you consider that if they have a bad game where they don't kill anything, it's like that's a lot of points to spend on them, which is why I know Jordan doesn't like them. Jordan much prefers hero camels, which I think I agree with. The main downside to hero camels is they sometimes kill the model you want a heroic combat off of, which is annoying. And you can't not do impaler hits. You can't be like, oh, I'll just park this camel sideways. No, you have to impale, and it's like shit.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Four Farthings Gaming says going to a teams tournament in Canada in early November, 750 points. 4-person teams with us, 3 themes spread across all 4 armies. Any ideas on themes for the team I'll be joining? Battle of the Pelennor is an obvious one. You go for like a Witch King Mordor army. You go for Riders of Theoden. You go for a Defenders of Minas Tirith, or even a Return of the King, and then something like Corsairs of Umbar, or
just all fighting on the same side for some reason,
or Easterlings or whatever. Yeah, well, you know, and then you could call your team something witty, like
Pelennor. I hardly know her.
Yeah, Pelennor. I hardly know her. Yeah, I mean, or you could do something like Assault on Helm's Deep.
Battle of the 5 armies.
Yeah, that would have been the obvious one, wouldn't it? Battle of the 4 armies.
Battle of 4 armies.
Easiest thing you can conceive of, all of you, and that's the theme.
Yeah. Let us know how that one goes, and if you come up with any ideas for themes, do you know, drop a comment and let us know. Keen to see how that one develops. Luke Senishin, sorry, Luke, says, interesting to bring pike and crossbow. Might want to put a Dunland lad in front to get the fight 4 in the pike and hope you get a 6 with the Dunland.
Yeah, I mean, we were criticizing it as well. We weren't sure if it was deliberate or if it was a mistake by the or like just a thing he missed.
Yeah,
the rules. But I was just trying to justify if there was some way it could work without actually just being an error. But
yeah,
not sure. To be honest.
Luke also follows up saying, "I'm bringing Isengard with Sully for Nova this year at 1k points, and I'm trying to find the best way to run it." I mean, you could do Isengard Witch King Sully. I don't see why not. Double caster at 1k.
Sam Grattan ran that at the finale. Sully being a nice march and striker to sort of tie the whole room together, who was also able to ally. Yeah, I think you got like 40 models. I think at 1k, you can basically run whatever you want. If you're doing a Yellow Alliance, yeah, Witch King is pretty good. Neither of those lists actually have loads of good heroes in either, so I'd honestly think, yeah, you probably would want to go for the Witch King as well.
Yeah.
Because like Isengard isn't full of good heroes. It basically has like, well, not at big points. It has useful heroes, but it doesn't have anything I would consider like, you know,
must takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Lurtz is good, but he's not like 1,000 points good, really.
Exactly. I was going to say Lurtz is creeping back into the meta for his ability to surprise turn up and bomb people.
Yeah, I mean that is at 1k. That is something you could get a lot of value out of.
Yeah.
Just take 10 bombs.
Yeah, just take 10 bombs. Take 25 Castellans of Dol Guldur.
What do you do then?
Or 24 and a Hunter Captain or something.
Deliver them by Crabane, and then you set them up so that you set up this bomb off, and it goes bang, 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 bang. And you set off from a safe distance.
Because each bomb detonation
immediately table yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old Jasmine Tetley method of get the objective and then blow yourself up.
I mean, she is the one who got it FAQ'd, but that has been a thing for a long time, to be fair.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was the podcast for this week. Thank you very much, Ian, for coming along to join.
You're more welcome.
Anything you'd like to shout out apart from Worcester War Games, obviously?
Obviously, Worcester War Games, yeah, the main independent hobby store in Worcester. So they do loads of support for MESBG. We've got a Thursday night gaming nights, so for that, plus also any products you want to order through from them as well. And then also on October the 27th, although it's a non-GBHL event, I'm also running a doubles event. I know, no, non-GBHL. I'm sorry. I don't know why I don't make it a GBHL event. I don't know whether it adds to the appeal. I don't know, but yeah, doing a doubles event on the 27th of October. So that one, hopefully, well, probably by the time this one goes out, I'll have put this one up, and tickets go on sale for it fairly soon. So grab a friend or grab someone you might partially know, and and
Tolerate being
come along.
around for 2 days.
Yeah, but thankfully it's only a one-day tournament as well, so it's a nice palate
Well,
cleanser
there you
for
go.
anything else. So there you
Better.
go, even better.
If you don't get on,
that's
you
the
can
way
just
to-
say goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, you just go, oh well, never mind.
Or if
Bye.
you do get
Well,
on,
we
maybe it'll
tried.
be the start of a beautiful new relationship, and you'll end up with a family and 2 kids and 3 dogs.
Yeah. Or any combination. Yeah.
Guaranteed at the Ian Smith's tournaments, I'm told now.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay, guaranteed. Okay,
Guaranteed.
that's quite scary.
Well, I mean, that's what happens when you don't run GBHL 100s, Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we need a bigger venue. I need a bigger boat, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I heard, I figured that was the reason, because
Yeah.
it's a good venue, but if you're going to have the minimum 48, was it 48 now? Or more?
64.
No, it's 60.
Yeah, that venue is not a 64-person venue.
No, please don't
No.
try and put 64 people in there. I don't know where I'd put them all. But yeah, I think that's the next thing is I've got to try and convince my wife and try and get there are a few venues that will fit that quite easily in Worcester. It's just sorting the logistics for it. I do want to do it. Dewey keeps trying to badger me into doing it. So
Moving
sorry.
venues is a pain, especially if you have one that's like you have a good relationship with.
Yeah.
Fortunately for you, the GBHL just grew out of control, you know.
Yeah, and there would be way too many. I get it. There'd be way too many 100s if we still had it at the 40 level or whatever it was before. But which it was. There was way too many 100s before. It made
That's
the
an
league a little bit
interesting
silly.
Because this year, like, there's the similar amount of hundreds, but there just isn't the same level of obsessive uptake that there was last year. So I do wonder what's caused that. Maybe it's a bit of a burnout, or maybe it's a sort of a reaction. But I don't know. Last year, you'd have to be pretty obsessively on it to get tickets, and that seems to have passed a bit this year. So
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
thank you everyone for coming along to listen and watch. Remember to go check out 7 City Collectibles, our affiliate link in the description below. Also check out SW Painting Studios, Scott Whitefoot, which the links will be down below.
yeah,
or drop a message on Facebook or whatnot.
Certified victorious armies.
Yeah.
In painting.
And until next time, remember to comment, like, share, subscribe, support your hobby. Be good people and chitter, chitter.
Chitter, chitter.
Yeah.
Cut it.
Cut the tape. Will points.